Hey everyone, it's Dominick from the Comic Book Report YouTube channel, back again for another guest review for Organic Price Books. And today we're taking a look at Batman Reptilian. Batman Reptilian was a miniseries written by Garth Ennis and illustrated by Liam Sharp. The issues in this volume were published by DC Comics as part of their Black Label beginning in 2021. The volume itself collects Batman Reptilian issues 1 through 6, and this edition is a standard size hardcover with glossy print paper stock. The book's binding is a glued binding, but altogether a really well made edition. I know lately DC seems to be pushing a lot of these kind of standalone miniseries for Batman. They've been releasing them in these hardcovers, but this is the first I've gotten my hands on that has a glossy print paper stock, which is my personal preference. And with some pretty prolific comic book creators attached to this book, I was definitely eager to see what it was all about. Let's go ahead and start with a closer look at that front cover of the dust jacket. I really love, it's a simple but wonderful design, the kind of reptilian face with this reptile eye that has a bat symbol in it. Very evocative and creepy, and it definitely lends a sense of tone and gravitas to the book already. I think a really well chosen cover design. The spine is also similarly well done. I think I would have loved to see the reptilian word stylized with the font they used for the front cover, but still a very crisp and easy to read spine. The back cover also has some more reptilian figures along with a brief description about the book and the other pricing info and stuff like that. Nothing really too crazy here. It just is similar, keeping the theme and the feel of the whole dust jacket. I really liked it. I think seeing this on a shelf, it's really easy to want to dive into it. Now I'll go ahead and get ready to remove the dust jacket so you can see what the dust jacket looks like when it's all spread open, get a good look at the interior flaps as well, and just again kind of appreciate the design work we have on the dust jacket. Like I said, it's pretty simple but extraordinarily well made. I think it did a really good job pitching the series just from the dust jacket, and then of course we can also see the under the dust jacket artwork. So now let's go ahead and quickly take a look at the front, spine, and back of this dust jacket. So this is basically the larger creature from this Reptilian series, and it's very sinister and creepy looking. I like that the under the dust jacket artwork as well is a wraparound cover. It definitely lends to a pretty cool little effect here, which you'll see in a moment. There we go. As you can see, we have this reptilian creature and its gaping maw open. I just think that this was really well done under the dust jacket hardback artwork. Very impressive, very eerie, and definitely something that stands out in my greater Batman collection. Okay, and now I'll transition to take a look at that glued binding I mentioned earlier. So again, this binding, I would have loved to see sewn binding, but it's really not uncommon to see a lot of glued binding on works like this. I believe a lot of the other standard edition hardcovers they've been releasing have this same glued binding. No real complaints from me. My copies are really nice glued binding. Everything's pretty sturdy so far, so hopefully it'll withstand the test of time. But like I said, wanted to give you a quick look at that. And now with our look at the exteriors out of the way, we can dive into the collection proper, and I can give you a quick sampling of what you can expect from this book, the artwork, and things like that. So to give a little bit of context, or kind of a brief synopsis of what you can expect from this book, first and foremost, this is not part of the Batman canon. This is not in-universe as far as I'm aware. This feels something more like an Elseworlds or kind of standalone story. So right from the jump, you know that this is its own separate thing, doesn't really affect the main Batman continuity as far as I'm aware. As far as the story itself, it largely revolves around this case Batman finds him on, wherein a lot of Gotham's underworld, a lot of Gotham's supervillains and henchmen are finding themselves horrifically maimed and or killed in these gruesome crime scenes. And initially, there are not a whole lot of clues or things to go on. People that have survived these attacks kind of comment that there's some kind of creature or monster that did this to them. It's really violent, really horrific. This is why this earns the Black Label logo in my mind. It's pretty vicious, it's pretty violent, and the overall tone of this is something very cold. So most of the book itself is concerned with Batman tracking down this being that is, some kind of reptile they find out from certain DNA samples. It's him following up with leads, him trying to interrogate some of his rogues gallery that are still left standing by the midpoint of this book. And overall, it is kind of detective work, but it's ultimately him trying to hunt this creature and solve what's going on here, and to stop this creature from running loose in Gotham. So that's really what's at the heart of this book. That's the basic storyline. There are some twists and turns near the end that I will not spoil for you, but that is just, again, a kind of picture of what this book is about. Now that we've done a brief synopsis, something else I really need to talk about with this collection is the impeccable artwork from Liam Sharp. I will admit, when I first received this book, I have to say that this kind of painted, sort of impressionistic in some ways art style is not usually a favorite of mine. I find it a bit hard to connect sometimes with stories that use this kind of art style. I don't know if it's because sometimes the scenes or characters are often muddled and it doesn't as well depict the actual thing I'm seeing, the visual image, in the way that I expect a story to show me, that sometimes I have a level of disconnect. It was similarly how I felt when I read stories like Arkham Asylum, which again is a good work, but the art and kind of wild, surrealistic, impressionistic sort of painting work, it can sometimes alienate me from the actual core storyline. However, when you understand where this art is coming from, what it's ultimately serving for the book's purpose, it can, again, be a work of art. It can be a favorite art style. I know many who love the art in Arkham Asylum and many works like that. I think that people that like that style will definitely love what they see here in Batman Reptilian. I myself was very surprised because, again, it's not usually my cup of tea, but I found it to be actually my favorite part of this whole book. I will admit right now, I was not a fan of this storyline, and I really disliked the resolution, maybe more than anything in this storyline, but the artwork was really gripping absolutely all the way throughout. It was a creature monster movie, and it really just set a really captivating tone. And yes, it did make me feel a bit detached from some of the main characters and maybe some of the scenes, but I definitely got the creeps, which was maybe part of the point of this. I also think that detachment really served this book well, because I wonder if one of the things that Garth Ennis and Liam Sharp were both hoping to accomplish in Batman Reptilian is this feeling of cold-blooded ruthlessness in even the main hero, Batman. This book had a Batman that was really not my Batman in many ways. He was, again, cold, ruthless, unfeeling, and oftentimes very, very cruel and sadistic. And not that Batman isn't capable of those things, but I didn't see anything within this collection that felt particularly noble or heroic, which are both attributes I would use to describe Batman when I read Batman comics. I think that they made a choice to make Batman in some ways reptilian, at least thematically. Though he is human, he feels very cold-blooded and unfeeling throughout this entire book. And I think to read a Batman like that was also one of the most disturbing facets of this collection. But I will say it was very striking in contrast to some other Batman books I often read. This book also gives you a good sampling of a majority of Batman's rogues gallery of villains. However, I will say that a good handful of them are indeed underutilized in this collection. Overall, for me, the story was a miss, but the art was hard to miss out on. I think with the writing talents of Garth Ennis, I was hoping for a bit more. In my opinion, it's not that the writing was bad as much as the writing just didn't feel like Batman to me. I think the detective work was all there, the twists and turns of the plotline were all there, but the character just was not Batman, or at least not the Batman I often read, and I did not enjoy that as much as I had hoped I would. And the ending of this book, quite frankly, was just not for me. For the art alone, though, this might be worth a pickup for many of you, and some will undoubtedly enjoy this story a lot more than I did. I am admittedly not an overwhelmingly huge Garth Ennis fan. I did read some of Preacher, and I could admit that it was well written, just not my subject matter, not for me. But I was hoping having a powerhouse writer doing one of my favorite characters, I would have enjoyed it a little bit more than I did. But again, still has a lot of upsides here. I think also the coloring in the art is really striking as well. We get a lot of incredible like greens for the reptile stuff, some purples and blues. That kind of cooler color palette is really nice, and it really contrasts well with the images that are the red of the blood and kind of violent scenes, the red and the oranges. They do just a really, really good job at the color palette. I think the character model of Batman that we do get is really sinister and creepy. There are whole scenes where his actual body almost looks like this shadowed silhouette, and you almost can't differentiate what is a shadow-like shape and what is actually form and function Batman on the page. And I think that was really an effective device. At any rate, that's my quick overview for Batman Reptilian. If you're interested in picking up your own copy, or for any of your other collected edition needs, please check out Organic Price Books. And for more reviews like this, and more extended reviews from me, you can find me over at the Comic Book Report YouTube channel. Have a good one.